when I got into it, the average age of a real estate agent was, I think, closer to about 58 or 60. I'll never forget, you've got an offer that it's going signing back and forth about, 3, 4 times. And it gets to the point where you can't even read it, like, prior to doing all this electronic signatures. So you'd have a signed copy that would go to everybody that you couldn't read. And then you would have to do another blank copy for reading purposes only. and hope that you didn't make any mistakes along the way.
You're listening to the Behind the Village podcast. My guest today is Gillian Stockdale from Century 21.
I've been in real estate now for 22 and a half years. The first year and a half, I started off with Prudential Lifestyles when it was in Orillia. And it wasn't the right fit for me. Nothing against them. It just didn't feel right. And I had an opportunity to move to the Century 21 Don Campbell office in Orillia when it was still around prior to Bernie purchasing it. And I was with them for about 10 years. And then I realized that there was just a little bit more with the BJ Roth office out of Barrie at the time. So I left and joined the BJ Roth office that was up in Washago. And I just found that there was the tools, the atmosphere, the ability with Century 21 itself for me to flourish as an agent and as a person, an individual, was just totally there. So it was just the right fit. I just knew when I was there that it was the right move to make. I've been going to our Canadian conferences for the about the past 10 years as well too. I've made all kinds of acquaintances all across Canada, some in the States as well. But what's happened is that you get this really great network of people that you would be happy to refer your clients to if they're moving to another province or territory, and they feel comfortable enough doing the same with you as well. So for me personally, Century 21 calls themselves the gold standard in real estate, and I've always connected with that. I hold myself to a much higher level as far as service goes, and that just ties in perfectly with who I am and my philosophy and thoughts and whatnot.
Is there, I guess you talked about, your values and kind of as a person, you're connecting in that way. Is there something specific? Is there maybe an attribute or a value that you kind of connect with most in terms of either real estate or with Century 21 as a person with who you are?
Well, for me, it's probably more so within myself, the way I treat my clients the same way I want to be treated, right? With respect and dignity and open lines of communication and things like that. So for me, having that coming from my brokerage as well too, and Century 21 Canada as a whole is really important. So just my personal experience, I mean, I'm sure everybody different experiences as well, right? Because there are quite a few people who, do move from brokerage to brokerage and whatnot to find the right fit. I just feel that I was really lucky that I was able to find my fit fairly early on with my career.
Yeah, I remember when you first became a real estate agent, and it was suggested to you that you should look around all the different brokerages and kind of meet with all the people and then figure out what the best fit is for you, because I don't know that much about real estate, but in terms of that, every brokerage does things a little bit differently, or they perform differently. I'm not entirely sure what the reason is, but I think one of the reasons, or how they tell you that you should start as a real estate agent, is to find the right fit, right?
Absolutely. And that's exactly what I did. So you'll have to picture this. I was 8 months pregnant with our second daughter when I went and interviewed with everybody, because I was in that nesting phase. I was finishing up my phase 3. I wanted to know where I was going to be landing when the time came. And I went to every single agency in the area and met with them. And when I did meet with C21 at the time, I felt that it was the right fit, but unfortunately they couldn't sort of guarantee that there was going to be a space for me in July or August to be able to join the company. And a lot of that had to do with the fact that there was a transition of ownership, but I wasn't privy to that at the time. So again, being in that nesting mind frame is why I went with Prudential, because I felt that the doors were open and that it was going to be a good fit for me. And like I said, it just, turned out down the road that it wasn't. But you do need to do that. You need to go out and make sure that you are interviewing with everybody possible. I'm a firm believer in the fact that you are going to know the right fit at that time, because everybody does run their brokerages differently. And although we're all in the same business, there is a different feel from one to the other.
I totally agree, because it's something that I think I've experienced, not just with my history in real estate, but in any aspect of life. You can just tell. You can just feel when something is aligned with you internally and when something's not. It's just, for me, that's just how I operate too. I wanted to ask you a little bit more about that time. What made you get into real estate in the beginning? Because you're 8 months pregnant, you had your other daughter, would have been what, a couple years old at the time?
Yeah. Jess was about 4.5 and or almost 5. And what happened is that actually I credit my husband Jerry for me becoming a real estate agent. At in his early 30s, he had been working on his own as a business owner for about 15 years. And after Jess was born, so this was about 5+ years, about 5-ish years earlier, he'd gone out with a friend for a day of golf, came home and said, "Sit down, we need to talk." And of course, I didn't know what that meant, but he said, he just said, "I've had a really good conversation with Pete, and I've decided that I really want to go back to school and finish my degree and become a teacher." And I was like, yes, awesome, great, so excited about it. So he had to fight and fight and fight to be able to get through it, because he was entering school, university again as a mature student, but nobody was seeing him as that regard. He had to fight to be able to get back in. He had to fight to be able to get his graduation. He then had to fight to be able to go to a teacher's college. The Ontario Teachers College wouldn't let him get in, so he went to Duville in Buffalo. And it was basically 3 years of him struggling to be able to do it. And I looked at the fact where I was working, which I absolutely loved the company, still very good friends with them and whatnot. It was a great foundation for me. But I knew that there was something more for me. And we literally were just flipping through the real estate guide and flipped over the paper. And on the back of it was the Prudential ads. And there was an ad there that said, "Have you ever thought about a career in real estate?" And I just went, yeah, that sounds perfect. So I looked into it and I figured if Jerry can do it, this in his 30s, so could I. So that's basically where it came from. And just haven't looked back since.
That's really
pretty cool.
Yeah, because I feel like we're very much in that phase of change for us right now, because we're in our 30s, and I think something happens when you hit 30. I don't know what it is, but things change and life changes. And there's, like you said, there's that fight and that struggle. And I don't know if we just become more aware of it when you hit 30. I don't know what it is.
But, everybody, I guess, finds out the reason why they need to move on, or they need to find or do something new in their own specific ways. And that's kind of what got me curious as you were talking, is I know you said that you flipped the newspaper and then up came the ad, and it was like, oh, that's cool. But what was it about real estate that kind of attracted you, I guess?
For me, I have always worked with the public. Every single job I've ever had, technically my very first job was picking strawberries for Egos. as a kid. But my first real job was being an usher at the Opera House. And, it was just everything else after that was just something to do with working with the public on a one-to-one basis. And I knew that that was something that would be really great for me. I'd been working for Pioneer Handcraft up in Severn Bridge for about 11 years at the time. And dealing with people where, you're going into their cottages or their homes and helping them with decor and things like that. And I was working on the front in the showroom, helping with sales and doing admin work and whatnot. And I've always had this passion for houses as well, too. Comes back to my grandparents on both sides. And my dad's side of the family had some very old Victorian style houses that were just incredible. And it got me really excited whenever I would go to them and be able to explore things and whatnot. And then my grandparents on my mom's side had this incredible custom bungalow in Midland that was built 1960s with the sunken living room and the stone wall and two stone walls and, that sort of mid-century feel. Right. So for me, you probably still see it. I get really excited about that feeling of the different homes and whatnot. And it was always something that was kind of important to me, but I didn't really realize it until I literally saw that ad that said, "Are you thinking of a career in real estate? Come chat with us." And I went, "Oh, I can tie all of this stuff into this career moving forward." And it's really, really helped me.
No, I can see it. And it's, you talk about the sunken living rooms and the stone walls, and I can just feel, how you feel about it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, one of the greatest things was is that that house that my mom had basically grown up in Midland, it came back on the market a couple of years ago, and they had done some modernizing to it, but still had a lot of the same feel to it. And it was listed with one of my friends and colleagues in Midland, and I'd contacted her and said, "Any chance I can bring my mom through?" And so we went through, and it was so cool for both of us to be able to do that.
That's pretty cool. Like just having been in the industry for so long, I guess that I didn't think about it that way, but you get to know so many houses. You get to see houses go back in the market and see how they've changed and see, updates or see how they've evolved over time, right? That's really interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. And my kids kind of, I think, as they were much younger, in the car with me on a regular basis, and I'd be driving by and go, "Oh yeah, I showed that house," or "Yeah, I listed that place," or "Oh yeah, so-and-so, bought that." And they're like, "Oh, Mom, yeah, I'm sure." But, the longer you're in this business, obviously, the more houses that you've been through and seen and whatnot. So yeah, it's kind of cool for me to see how they come up, again as well.
Yeah.
I know, I'll go, "Been in there, been in that one, been in."
Yeah, exactly.
In the early years of your career, were there any challenges that you didn't necessarily foresee at the time, or anything you had to overcome in terms of your longevity in real estate? Because it's no small feat that you've been in it for 20 plus years. That takes a lot of grit.
Yeah. No, definitely. When I was first starting out, I didn't have sort of the foundation that I needed to build on. So a lot of the times I felt like I was just getting by. And I did work part-time as well too. I still worked at Pioneer for about a year and a half, I think, on a part-time basis afterwards, which was wonderful that they worked with me on that. But it took a long time to be able to build up enough of a foundation where I felt comfortable enough leaving that part-time support and moving on. A lot of people nowadays have the ability to have, coaching or mentors and the building blocks to be able to have a long-term career. When I got into it, the average age of a real estate agent was, I think, closer to about 58 or 60 because people were doing it as a second career. The people, my status, being in their early to mid 30s, there were very, very few of us out there. So now you look at the amount of people who are in real estate, and the age gap it's huge. I mean, there's people who are coming in their 18, 19, 20, and are looking at this as their forever career. Or there's also still people who have done that career for, their 30 plus years, have retired, so to speak, and are now coming into real estate as a second career, or as their retirement career. So that's been a big thing as well too.
What kind of changes have you seen? Because you've been in the in the industry for so long. I was curious, what are the changes that you have seen the industry kind of go through? Because like you said, like at the time, there were mostly retired people that have used it as a second career or retired career, if you will, right? Well, all of a sudden, now that it feels or it sounds completely different. What changes have you seen the industry kind of go through over the years?
There's been a lot. I think, Michaela, you could probably say that as well too, just your time. When I started out, we didn't have to do offers with the carbon paper. It had just been phased out. But every single offer had to be done in at least 4 copies, and all of them had to be signed individually. So you were,
Wow.
going to see a client with like a stack of paper on a regular basis. So, and cell phones were very, very rare still. My first cell phone was a StarTAC 3000, which is a flip phone, and you couldn't really text on it very well, but I had a cell phone. A lot of people still had pagers at that point in time, but, it was all face to face. It was really doing the customer service that I knew I wanted to provide. And that's, I think, part of what's gotten me to where I am right now. So now we're in a situation where, and a lot of this has to do with COVID as well too, but after COVID, we're now doing like 1 copy of an offer or listing paperwork, and it's emailed to the clients, and everything is, signed either AuthentiSign or DocuSign or whatever. And I would say probably 95% of it now is electronic versus doing the face-to-face. That is definitely phased out a lot. My favorite still is to do the face-to-face with my clients and take as much information as possible from them. And then usually paperwork is kept a lot cleaner, being able to do it through email and computer. I'll never forget, you've got an offer that it's going signing back and forth about, 3-4 times. And it gets to the point where you can't even read it. Like, prior to doing all this electronic signatures. So you'd have a signed copy that would go to everybody that you couldn't read. And then you would have to do another blank copy for reading purposes only. and hope that you didn't make any mistakes along the way. But, yeah, I mean, it's quite a bit different. And now, of course, we have all of these coaches available as well. And all of these programs, CRMs for being able to keep in contact with your clients instead of having a Rolodex or, book upon book upon book of information. It's all just immediately available at your fingertips in the cloud, so to speak. But, I mean, a lot of it's been for the good. But there are some things still that are a little bit frustrating with having to do all of that electronically. Like I said, I'm a people person, so I like to be able to do that, the face-to-face as much as possible.
Mm-hmm. And I think, we've talked about this a lot with real estate in particular, but I feel like there's been the more, I guess, in the digital age that the real estate has kind of become, it's also made it so that people seem to have a different viewpoint of real estate. There's a lot more, I don't know if I want to call it hostility, but there's a lot more people. I don't know. People don't seem to like real estate agents or the industry as a whole for the most part, and I don't really. I think there's a lot of misconception with that, but I wanted to know what your thoughts were on that.
There definitely is. And you know what? There's always going to be, a few bad apples in the bunch, right? It doesn't matter what profession you're in, you're always going to have that. I guess part of the perception is that we don't have to work that hard for our commission. So what the general public sees, if you're doing your job correctly, they don't see all of the hard work that's going in behind the scenes to make sure that everything happens. And that's part of, I think, the issue. It's something that I've seen actually from the very beginning and of my career, and I'm still seeing it now. So it's just, it's all how you just, how you manage it with your clients and make sure that they understand what it is that you are providing to them as far as the service goes. And knock on wood, I haven't had any massive issues with anybody. So, so it's interesting for sure. And there's always going to be people out there who don't want to pay commission for the job that you're doing for them. And that's fine. There's other opportunities for them to be able to use a different kind of platform. There's numbers out there that do show that the majority of people who will sell on their own, there's a certain number that like 85 or something like that % of the people out there who sell their house privately end up using it's usually a buyer agent that comes in with client. I mean, that's just going from my memory. The number is quite high. So, it is what it is.
And I'm curious, and I wonder what your input is on this as well. But I'd be curious if you could kind of detail me a little bit about what is a day in the life of a real estate agent then, because there's a lot of misconception on what an agent does or doesn't do. So what does it look like, in terms of for people to kind of get more of an idea of what an agent actually does?
Okay, so the first thing is that there's no such thing as a typical day. It is the very first thing that you have to learn in this business is to be flexible with your schedule and your time. What you could have a full day set out already in place, and it could just blow up when you wake up in the morning because of an email or a situation that's so. I've learned to not be able to focus on this is exactly what I have to get done today, unless it's, meeting deadlines and whatnot. I have to be flexible with things. So quite often, I have my phone turn off at 10 o'clock at night, go silent at 10 and doesn't come on until 8 a.m. I'm usually up at 5 o'clock in the morning and I'm working on things that early, looking, at emails from clients and taking that time first thing in the morning to get my head on straight and figure out what I've got to do for the day and what is absolutely pressing that has to get done and what's anything else that can be moved if necessary. So that's sort of first thing that's constantly happening. And then it's a matter of potentially going out to see clients about listing their house. So you're doing a little bit of background work if possible to get an idea for what things are selling for in the area. If their house has been sold previously, take a look at the old photos to get an idea of what kind of upgrades they may have done, that type of thing. So there's a lot of footwork that goes into that. If you're going out to see clients and do showings, same sort of thing, except you're flipping it. You're taking a look at what properties have sold for in the past for that particular property you're going to see and figure out whether or not it's a realistic asking price based on what current properties have sold for in that neighborhood as well. So there's that side of it as well too. A lot of times you are having to contact the city or the townships or things, or their clients' lawyers or mortgage brokers, and following up on things if you've got conditional offers or needing to get information on properties. You're making appointments with your photographer, the people who are doing any kind of staging work for you. You're making contacts with people. For example, I've got a property out in Fergus Hill Estate that the roof was covered and it was vacant. And so I needed to find somebody who could get the roof cleaned off for my client, because there was an issue with that snowfall that was coming. So, I had to pivot after a showing had happened there, and they contacted me, and I'm like, okay, boom, out the office door, over there, make sure that I could deal with that and get it dealt with for them. It's constant. So for me, real estate is like the number one thing that I'm working with on a regular basis. And then I try to take little pockets of time here and there, wherever I can, to have some downtime for myself, or to go and get, some grocery shopping done, or, or fit my own little appointments in and things like that. So it's interesting. You can't write a script on what you're going to do in real estate. You can't. There's no form that you can fill out that says, okay, this is going to be my day and here you go. You have to be able to fly by the seat of your pants a lot of the time. And like I said, be flexible and pivot.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's something a lot of people don't realize, is that you're on all the time. Like, it's very difficult to just say, I'm going to take this weekend to relax, because inevitably, as soon as you say that, or you book a vacation, or,
Oh,
then
absolutely.
things start happening.
The last time I was able to turn things off, I'm not joking, was in 2006. And we went to Cuba for the March break. So Jess was 9, Sam was 4. And it was before international cell phones. So I left my cell phone at home, right? I lasted 4.5 days out of the 7 days before I went and checked my email. That was the last time I've turned my brain off. Any other vacation I've had, my phone goes with me, my computer goes with me, and so even though, if I'm out on the East Coast visiting my daughter, or I'm, at conference somewhere across Canada, my clients still know that they can get in contact with me. And to me, that's important. But, if I go home at night, I've got a great office in Orillia that, I try to keep as much work here as possible, but I'm still answering emails. I'm still checking my laptop about things and getting back to clients and dealing with stuff. You're right. It's difficult to shut it off.
Mm-hmm. So in that same vein, in terms of a work-life balance, you mentioned a little bit that you kind of squeeze things in here and there. Do you feel like you kind of achieve what you hope for in terms of a work-life balance? Or
when my kids were younger and they were involved in sports and activities and things like that, I would say my work-life balance was better, in the fact that I made sure I was available for all of those things for them. Going to basketball tournaments and games and things like that. Hopefully my kids would feel the same way at this point, that, mom was there for them. I think they would. But now I'm finding that we're sort of empty nesters. It's more so just trying to get as much work packed in a day as possible. That's not to say we don't try and take some time off and go and do things and whatnot. But again, my phone stays with me. My computer stays with me. I'm still in contact with people as necessary. So it's probably not as good as it could be. But again, that's also me with my type A personality, not being able to turn things off or, walk away from things. And, that's part of the reason why I work on my own. I have great colleagues that I can call on if necessary. But I chalk it up to my type A personality.
But that's also something that I think people need to understand, right? Is like, as you mentioned, that real estate is a very, I don't know if chaotic would be the right word, but there's so much going on, right? And so many clients, and you have to like pivot and move all these different pieces all the time. And it's, it's not for everybody. And I just started thinking about the people as like the people that are coming in. There are so many agents or so many people that try to become real estate agents that usually, they work, and then a couple years later they kind of burn out, or they realize it doesn't work for them because they haven't gotten any clients, or they have different expectations, I guess, of what real estate, or their perceived idea of what real estate is. But I think it's really interesting, I guess, is that it's going to be only for certain people that really relish or really enjoy being part of that, you know,
They
finding
thrive.
something new every single day, that thrive in that chaos, if you will.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say, that they thrive on chaos. That would definitely be me.
Yeah.
And I think part of the issue is right now is that we did see a huge influx of agents during and after COVID. And that had a lot to do with just the way the market was. I mean, things were just flying right off the shelves and selling for crazy, crazy prices. So people didn't have to know the ins and outs of how things work. And now that we're in a more realistic market, people are finding that it's not all sunshine and, rainbows and whatnot, that you're actually having to work harder for getting your clients their house sold or finding the right buyer. So I think that's been an eye opener for a lot of people as well too. And I think we will probably see a decrease in numbers over the next couple of years, because the first 3 to 7 years are the most difficult years in real estate. So those people who've made it through the COVID bubble are now going to have the hardest time, I believe. Like if they were just new in the business, they're going to have the hardest time for the next 3 years and being able to get moving, because the money is not falling off the tree, So you've got to change your whole focus as well too, if you want to continue being in this business.
Yep. And it's the idea too, like you mentioned, where you're managing so many things and it's challenge after challenge and fire after fire that you're putting out. And I think during COVID times, it looked so easy because houses were just selling so fast. You blinked and they were gone. So like, what skill do you need at that point? But that's where you start to see, that the masters like yourself in their craft, they're the ones with the longevity. They're the ones that can weather these different markets, and real estate's always up and down. Like it's never just, it doesn't hit a certain level and stay there ever.
Yeah, exactly.
So tell me a little bit about, I guess, the idea of how you pursued your dreams, because you had the idea of creating, like you went into real estate, right? And you had a young family, which was probably like you have kind of hinted at, like it's been difficult in terms of like a work-life balance. You kind of do what you can, right, with what you have. But what does it look like? What does it feel like for people to just go and try and be who they actually have always wanted to be, if you will? Because you mentioned your husband also decided to, I'm going to change my career. I'm going to do something that I want to do, right? Which is fantastic. And same with you. What does that look like or feel like? Because I feel like a lot of people don't have that, not knowledge, but just that ability to say, I'm just going to go and do it. I'm just going to go and try it. Right.
For me, the couple of big reasons why I was able to do it. And it really came down to two things. My husband, having his support was just everything, in the fact that, if I need to go and see clients at night or on the weekend and do showings or open houses or whatever, school days off or, like March breaks, the whole works. none of that was an issue because thankfully Jerry had has a career as a teacher where he was going to be home and he was able to look after the kids. So that was huge for me, and just being able to say, hey, I need to go and do such and such. And it's like, yep, go. It's all good. And then the other thing was too, is that, my mom was and still is incredibly supportive of my career. And she was there to be able to babysit the kids, as necessary as well. So having that family support was really, really important for me to be able to get where I am today. Have I been able to achieve all of my dreams? I'm going to be completely honest. When I was a kid, I never thought I would be a real estate agent. I thought I was going to be a teacher. So, yeah, it's funny. I'm now married to a teacher. And I've got a sister who's a teacher. One of my sisters is a teacher as well, too. And, quite a few friends who are teachers. But this is not where I imagined I was going to be, even when I was in my 20s. So have been in this career for, 22 and a half years has really been an eye opener for me. I still have some dreams out there that I want to be able to accomplish, as far as my, awards and things like that go. But that's a personal thing for me. And I still have some things that I want to accomplish in my, business as well, too, as far as, having a complete system where I'm, working on referral. I'm almost there, but not quite. But so I guess in a lot of ways I've kind of accomplished part of a dream, but I don't know if it's a complete dream at this point. Because I think if you don't have consistent dreams out there or things you want to try and obtain, then there's not that energy to keep going on a regular basis, right? So my dreams have definitely evolved, as I've gotten older. I'll be 55 this year, which blows my mind when I say that. But, like I look at my kids and they're happy and they're healthy and they're great people. And that was a dream that's been accomplished, knowing that, that we've done something right as far as parents. So yeah, I've still got some dreams. Some of them haven't been, written down at this point. Cause they still haven't come forward enough for me to be able to move with them, but I know they're there.
What are you proud of? You mentioned your kids. What else are you proud of that you've done?
Well, I do a lot of, work with the community as well, too. I don't go around sort of tooting my own horn about it because it's just something for me that, that's just who I am. Help as much as possible, where I can. So that's something that I'm very proud of myself for doing, as well as my community, effort. And, my love language, I think, is gift giving, and, learned that from my mom. So I'm just, I am proud of the person that I have become. But I also have a hard time sort of acknowledging the fact where I am at in my life as well. It may not sound it, but it is hard to talk about yourself. I'm not one to normally do that. I mean, I do share a lot with my clients about my personal life and whatnot. I'm a bit of a sharer, but I don't really get into in-depth stuff. So yeah, so it's interesting to sort of sit here and have to think about it.
Yeah, it's hard.
It is.
Yeah, I'm similar. It's tough to when I hate when people ask, so tell me about yourself. I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, I love the fact that, I can do some great things with my kids and my husband, and, we've got a roof over our heads, and, everything is good. So yeah, just keep working on that and trying to be happy and healthy. That's a big thing.
Mm-hmm.
But I like that idea that you mentioned before about how, your dreams change and evolve, because it's true, right? The dreams that you have when you're 20, when you're 30, when you're 40, like they may stay the same or they may not, or new ones may come up, right? But you need that energy to kind of keep yourself going. So even if you, let's say, achieve this dream that you had that you've always wanted to be, let's say you wanted to be a real estate agent and you achieve that dream, well, once you get there, something else is going to uncover that says, okay, I want to go do this or I want to go do that now, right? And it's one of those things that a lot of people, I guess, I don't know, I think a lot of people may have the wrong idea when it comes to dream pursuit, that it's this long time, like I'm just going to do this and I will never reach it, or I will always, hopefully it's there one day, it will get there. But it's more about finding the little pieces, the little things that you've always wanted to do, and do them like to be happy, to just, and then go find other things.
Yeah,
I feel like,
absolutely. Yeah.
yeah,
For me, it's almost like it's an onion. You're peeling back layers on a constant basis, trying to get to another part of yourself. And we all have many, many layers. So, I know I'm not nearly there yet. You were talking about, when did you sort of see yourself as like for dream wise? And I mean, a lot of people don't know this, but I ended up going to Laurier for a year for singing. I was a singer, and it wasn't the right time. Wasn't the right program for me and whatnot. But I've done quite a bit of singing with my local church for years. I haven't done it in the past sort of 5-6 years because of life and again, that work balance. But I know that when things start to settle down again, I'm going to be looking for another group to try and get back in with again, because that's one thing that really helps me and my soul and sort of my work-life balance.
yeah.
That's
Well,
cool.
not everything about
Yeah,
dreams is about business as well either, right? It's also personal. It's whatever you want to do, right? Whatever you
absolutely.
enjoy. Yeah, that's pretty cool. And I wanted to ask you a little bit about the area, because you, I guess for the people that don't know you, you have been here in Orillia or
Yeah,
around in the area for all of your life?
my whole life. Yeah, I would. Both Jerry and I were born at Soldiers, as were my kids. Um, so I grew up in Orillia until I was 10. Then we moved out to Medonte at the time, now Oro Medonte. And lived on a 65-acre farm between Horseshoe Valley Road and the Warminster Side Road, and spent quite a few years out there. Warminster was my public school, which is so cool to think about the fact that my kids went there and my husband teaches there. I love that. It's like full circle. And then, when Jerry, and I were, together, we lived in, Ramera, and, we lived, at our business that was, located on Highway 11, just outside of Orillia. And, we now live in, Severn Township. So, I know this area like the back of my hand. I really do. Almost 55 years of living here. So, when I worked for Pioneer Handcraft, I worked up in Muskoka a lot. I would spend a lot of the summers working at the, showroom up in Port Carling. So I got to know that area quite well as well. We had family that were over in Midland and Penetanguishene, and Collingwood. So yeah, my knowledge is really expansive of the area.
What made you, I guess, did you always have the dreams of just staying here and achieving everything that you wanted to achieve here? Or do you have
I've
dreams of being somewhere else?
No, I've always been a small town girl. I love where we live. I love the Simcoe County area, the Orillia area. There's so much that's here to offer people, and I'm happy to help promote that on a regular basis. The fact that we're just on that doorstep with Muskoka as well, too, southern Muskoka. The opportunities in this area are they're endless. They really are, as far as what we have to offer on a nature side and an arts side as well, too. So, no, there's never been any thoughts of picking up and moving to the big city or anything like that. It's always been, this is where my home is. And I'm thankful that, Jerry feels the same way, and, we'll see where it goes from there.
What would be your suggestion? What would be your advice, right, for someone that is just entering into real estate or wants to change their career or wants to do something like that, wants to do like a big change, right, of some sort? What would be your advice to someone that is just, trying to muster up the courage to go do that?
Sit down and talk with somebody who's going to be honest with you about the business. I've got a co-op student that is working with me, and the first day that she was here, we sat down and talked frankly about the type of business it is and how you have to be able to adapt and move with the ebb and flow of things. I think that's really the most important thing before you even invest money into the program. If you decide it's the right thing to do, then make sure you have somebody who can be there to mentor you. I think that's really, really important. I also believe that you need to take as much courses education as possible. We have a mandatory education that we have to do every couple of years. I'm not one to just do that. I'm also taking other courses on a regular basis, because it's important to learn things, whether it's from different types of coaches or lawyers in the industry, that type of thing. So be prepared to do as much education as possible. I think the more you invest in your time going into it, the more profitable you're going to be in the long run, because it's really important to be able to have that building block to be able to help propel yourself forward.
That advice just kind of is overall very sound for any industry, not just real estate, right? Like you can do it for anything. Just getting your mentor, talking, you're going to learn a lot. You're going to experience a lot. So I really like that. And for people that are looking to, I guess, learn more about you, know more about, the services that you offer, what you do, where would they go? I know you have your website, social media, and stuff like that. I guess that's what I'm.
I do. The best thing to do is just get in contact with me. I'm pretty easy to get a hold of. Again, my phone doesn't travel very far without me. It's like my third arm. It's with me all the time. So yeah, I've got my website, soldonstockdale.com. I'm fairly easy to reach out to, and I'm always willing to, sit down, have a coffee with somebody, and talk about what it is that they're looking for as far as their home needs, whether it's now or if they're this is what I'm hoping to be able to accomplish in the next couple of years, and how can I get myself there? So, that's what I would say. Just don't hesitate. Reach out. I've got lots of clients as well too, that if somebody was looking for referral, they'd be more than happy to talk about me and my services as well too.
Cool.
Awesome.
So if there's nothing else, I think this would be the end of the episode. So thank you very much for being with us.
Oh, my pleasure. It was a lot easier than I thought it was going to be. You guys have done a great job. So thank you for that.
Thank you for listening to the entire episode. All the links and info you heard in this conversation will be featured in the show notes on our website, villagermagazine.ca/podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, consider subscribing to our channels like YouTube, Spotify, or wherever you're listening from so you never miss an episode. Thanks again, and I'll see you next time.